Hi guys, welcome to Devs Only Sports. This is episode 25. Before we get into anything, make sure to follow us on social media: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Devs Only Sports, and then our YouTube and Spotify. You can just type in Devs Only Sports at the search bar and happily watch and listen to our beautiful voices there. Today we're gonna get into a little bit of baseball. Spring training starts at the end of the month, so why not get into it? And like the past couple episodes, do some more rankings because we love our rankings and we love the controversy. So, would you like to do top five pitchers or top five hitters first?
Let's do top five pitchers first. I'll do my top
Top
five
five
pitchers
pitchers
first.
first. All right.
Yeah. So my top five pitchers in the MLB, I'll go from five to one. So at number five, I have Justin Verlander. He just won the Cy Young. He went now this offseason, he went from the Astros to the Mets. He's gonna be on one of the best rotations in the MLB, and he still throws really hard. He still has that great curveball and the great slider. So I have Justin Verlander at number five. At number four, I have Corbin Burns. He's been a Cy Young winner in the past. He's the best pitcher on the Brewers. He's led that rotation to be one of the best rotations in baseball over the last 5 years. And I just really like his arsenal. He throws really hard. He has that nice cutter, and I think he's a really good pitcher. At number three, I have Max Scherzer. He's been one of the best pitchers over the last decade. Definitely a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. He's been on a ton of different teams, but he's just a stud wherever he goes. Now he's on the Mets, and he has the great arsenal. Throws 96 to 97 with the fastball. He has the great changeup, the great slider. So the deception with his delivery. He's a great pitcher. So I have him at number three. At number two, I have Sandy Alcantara. He had an amazing year last year, a breakout season. He's been good throughout his whole career, which is a very short career, but throughout his first few years, he's been very good. But last year, he took it to another level. He had like a 2.2 ERA. I mean, just absolutely dominating the competition. Throws super, super hard. And the thing that impresses me about him is he throws super deep into games, which is very rare. He throws complete game shutouts more than anyone in baseball, throws 9 innings more than anyone in baseball. And that does have some value in my opinion. So I like him at number two. And at number one, if this guy stays healthy, he's the best pitcher ever. But Jacob DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball, but the health concerns are a clear issue. But when he's on the mound, he's an absolute freak. He throws 102, has the great slider, just the great. He doesn't even need anything else. He just throws the fastball and the slider. No one can hit it because he's just the best pitcher in baseball. If he's able to stay healthy this year on the Rangers, he'll be able to help that rotation. I don't know how good the whole rotation will be. I know they've added some guys, but in my opinion, Jacob DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball with the best stuff, and it's the most simplistic arsenal out of all these guys. But he just dominates. And the thing about him is that he has the best accuracy and the best pinpoint precision of all his pitches. He can locate wherever he wants to, and that's why he's the best pitcher in baseball.
It's a pretty good list. I can't lie. It's all right though. I'll tell you who the top five pitchers are in the MLB. I'm gonna go one to five. I'm gonna switch it up on you. I'm gonna go one to five. My number one pitcher in the MLB, Sandy Alcantara. Love the dude, 6'5" monster, just hones that thing in there. Really great for the Marlins. He basically puts the whole team on his shoulders whenever he's starting. One NL Cy Young this year. And the NL, to pitch in the NL and to be the best pitch in the NL, especially for how young he is, it's a lot to do. So I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for that. And Sandy Alcantara, for me, number one pitcher, without a doubt in my own mind. Number two, I hate the Dodgers more than anyone else, but credit where credit is due. Julio Urias is one of the best pitchers in the league right now. I mean, last year he finished with a 2.16 ERA. He's an absolute monster. And again, the NL pitching is so much more dominant than AL pitching. And that's just been the case for a while now. And I just feel like the fact that, his speed has just consistently grown and exponentially grown in the past years. I feel like he's going to do amazing things. And if he stays with the Dodgers, who knows what happens, but I feel like there's a trade in there somewhere. He could get a really good deal going somewhere else. That's just me personally, though. And then at number three, I've got Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns is probably the most consistent pitcher in the MLB right now. I can't really think of a guy who's constantly healthy, who constantly has a low ERA, who gives a few walks, who has a lot of strikeouts, and more importantly, just allows the ball to be hit and play. I really like Corbin Burns. I feel like the Brewers just isn't the greatest fit for him because, they're constantly playing NL Central teams. So I'd like to.
Dodgers?
maybe, maybe it'd be interesting. Maybe an NL West team in general would be interesting for
Dodgers.
Corbin
Dodgers.
Burns.
The Padres have enough
So,
Dodgers.
so I have Corbin Burns three, and then my four is Jacob DeGrom. Again, he's probably the fastest pitcher in the league right now. So, but the problem is that he can't stay healthy. So, as much as I'd love to put him number one or put him higher up on my list, he can't stay healthy. He clearly doesn't know how to take care of his arm, or it's more about the fact that there's so much
He
power
just
going
throws
on.
too fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
you
throws
just
too
can't
fast.
take care of it in the first place. So, and you can't really have a guy who's on again, off again as high up on the list like you. So that's
That's
them.
fair.
And then number five, I feel like this is maybe a little bit controversial, but I liked what he did last year, and what he's done for this team has been pretty impressive. Joe Musgrove, like, credit where credit is
Get the
due.
hell out of here, bro. What you saying? He's the third best pitcher on his team.
Joe Musgrove, whenever I look at the Padres and I look at the Padres pitching, I always look at, their pitching against the Dodgers in particular, as that's like the dominant force in the NL West. And Joe Musgrove just tends to dice up the Dodgers a little bit. And so, he's again one of those consistent pitchers. He keeps his ERA within 3. So, he's overall like a great pitcher. Obviously, you look at pitchers like Shohei Ohtani, Justin Verlander had the lowest ERA, but again, Justin Verlander, he's had some really good years and he's had some really bad years. So it's just taking it on to account. But if you're talking about my top five, I've got Sandy Alcantara one, I have Julio Urias two, I have Corbin Burns three, Jacob DeGrom four, and Joe Musgrove five. And I would just like to point out, when you look at that list, those are all NL pitchers. Jacob DeGrom was played for the Mets last year, so he hasn't technically played a game with the Rangers yet. So in my mind, he's still an NL pitcher. Like, that's how dominant NL pitching is, that we both just made a list and 9 of them are NL pitchers.
Yeah. Well, it's also because even last year they had the DH last year, so people can't say, oh, they didn't have the DH. Last year they did have the DH, and the NL pitching still had a lower ERA. So it just
Yep.
shows that the lineups in the AL, of course, are used to having the DH, but the pitching in the NL has been king for sure.
And to say that like one position like the DH is going to make a difference in a pitcher's
It
ERA,
does no,
like
it
that
makes a
was
big
just a
difference. It makes a
stupid.
big difference. No, it's
No, it's
not,
such a
dude.
stupid argument,
Dude,
bro.
if you're having a pitcher hit 3 at bats, 4 at bats a game versus
Yeah.
a stud hitter, like if you have Martinez hitting or Clayton Kershaw hitting, who's going to score more runs? The team with JD Martinez. So
Yeah, but at the end
that's
of the
dumb
day,
argument, bro.
you don't no team has 9 players that are, that have like good batting averages. You don't have 9 players
No, but
that are
sometimes
all
the
amazing
DH
batting
has a better
averages.
average. Like Big Poppy
Yeah,
would not
fine.
play in the would not play in the NL, but in AL he was a stud because he could just play
Yeah,
DH and he was one of the best hitters in baseball. So the
yeah.
DH makes a massive impact, but still, it shows even with the DH in the NL last year, the NL pitching was better. So I think you got to give credit where credit is due. And then now we're gonna get into the top 5 hitters in baseball going into 2023. I'll start off with my list first. So my top 5 hitters in the MLB in 2023. This does include some aspects of like how they perform in the postseason. This is not only a regular season award. So at number one, I have Bryce Harper. He had an absolutely monstrous postseason. Even with the elbow injury, he's been an absolute stud. He has the most clutch hits in baseball in the last few years. I mean, this guy's a monster. He hits tons of home runs. He walks a lot. He controls the strike zone. And he's just, in my opinion, he's the most complete hitter in baseball right now. At number two, I have Freddie Freeman. He's severely underrated because he doesn't hit for as much power as a lot of other guys, but his bat to ball skills are second to none. I mean, this guy can put the ball in play with the best of them. He controls the strike zone. He led
Yep.
the MLB in hits last year. He
Yep.
had one of the best averages in the MLB last year, and he still hits for some power. So he'll hit some more home runs this year. I'm gonna go get into my list for the top 5 hitters in the MLB. At number one, I have Bryce Harper. I just think he's the most complete hitter in baseball. He is one of the most clutch hitters in baseball. He hits for power. He hits for average. He walks a ton. Even when he had the elbow injury, he still performed amazing. He won the MVP 2 years ago. He was one of the best players in the postseason last year. So I have Bryce Harper at number one. At number two, I have Freddie Freeman. He's the most underrated star player in baseball. He hits for average. He hits for power. He puts the ball in play. He walks a lot. He led the MLB in hits last year. And I just think he's one of the best hitters in baseball because he hits for average and he hits for power and he doesn't strike out that much. And I feel like that's a very crucial thing in today's game. And I think he'll perform very well in the postseason in the next future years. At number three, I have the young gun, Juan Soto. He led that Nationals team to the World Series that year. That year, him and Anthony Rendon carried them to that World Series. He is an absolute stud. He even last year he hit 240, but he had a 400 on base percentage because he leads the league in walks by so much. He's basically this generation's Barry Bonds. He's not as good as Barry Bonds, but he's this year at generation's Barry Bonds. He leads the league in on base percentage every year. He's one of the he controls the strike zone better than anyone else. He hits for power. He hits for average. Last year was kind of a down year, but I think he'll bounce back this year. And I just think he's so talented and he has the chance to end his career as one of the top five hitters in baseball history. At number four, I have Jordan Alvarez. Again, another really good young player. Hits for a ton of power, ton of average. He didn't play as well in the postseason. He had some key hits. He had that 3-run home run against the Phillies, which won them the World Series. He had a few home runs against the Mariners that won them that series. But in the middle of the postseason, he really struggled. But overall, as a hitter, he again hits for power, hits for average, and just is an absolute monster. He's still very young, but he's my number four. And at number five, I have Aaron Judge. I know everyone's saying, why is he not number one? I know he led the MLB with 60 home runs last year, and or 60, 62, 63. I don't know. He broke the record for home runs that besides guys that use steroids. So he's an absolute stud, but he just strikes out way too much for me. He is one of the best hitters in baseball because in the regular season he performs very well. He had like a 300 average, 60 home runs. He had arguably the best season out of anyone in the last 20 years. So no disrespect there, but he hasn't performed as well in the postseason when he's been there. He really struggles, and I feel like that's a key issue. So I have Aaron Judge at five. So just to recap, number one, I have Bryce Harper. Number two, I have Freddie Freeman. Number three, Juan Soto. Number four, Jordan Alvarez. And number five, Aaron Judge.
Our lists aren't really that far off, to be fair. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get into my list here. Should I go? I'll go 1 to 5. Should I go 1 to 5? Yeah, I'll go 1 to 5. All right. At number one, I've got Jeff McNeil. No, imagine. At number one, I've got O'Neill Cruz.
No, you don't stop.
That's for all the real fans out there. For all the real fans out there,
Oh.
O'Neill Cruz is the best hitter in the MLB, but those are only for the real ones. That's not my actual take.
Oh my God.
Number one hitter for me is Aaron Judge. I mean, dude hit 62 home runs last year. He finished 5th in the league for batting average. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. He's, he like screams New York Yankees. Love Aaron Judge. Love what he did last year. And I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year. He might even break the home run record again. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's that. Number two, Juan Soto. Like you said, Nationals carried that team with Anthony Rendon, and now on the Padres, he has like the highest WAR. He's obviously going to do amazing things this year. At number three, his teammate Fernando Tatis Jr. I know it's looked down upon because he didn't play last year with the whole PED situation and all that stuff, but I think he's going to come back hot in April. I think he's going to do really well for the Padres, and I think him combined with the WAR of Juan Soto and, constantly seeing those stats about their WARs being like so high that it's ridiculous. I think it's really going to go a long way, and it's going to go a long way for the Padres as well. So that's my number three. And number four, like you, have Jordan Alvarez. He was a beast in the postseason. I feel like that's when people really started paying attention to him. And you didn't even have to look at that. You could look at him, in the stats before during the regular season. He was doing really well. He was putting up numbers. He had a really good batting average. And overall, just a really good hitter and very consistent. He has a very, very nice swing, very clean, very smooth. What we love to see in the MLB. And then at number five, I have Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, again, one of those consistent guys. I mean, he was literally battling through injury all year last year, and he still put up the numbers that he had. He had monstrous home runs. He had clutch moments. He's just an all-around guy. He's there for the team. He's there for the game. That's what we love to see. It's hard to keep him out of the top five. Putting him number one, that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's understandable. I'm not entirely against it. But my top five, I've got Aaron Judge number one, Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis Jr. at 2 and 3, Jordan Alvarez 4, and Bryce Harper 5. That's my top five hitters.
It's fair. I completely agree. The Bryce Harper thing is mostly because I also take into account postseason performance. And when you look at some of these hitters, like you got a ton of hitters in the MLB that like Manny Machado and Trey Turner and all these guys that play really well, but in the postseason they just don't show up. And like same thing with Aaron Judge, did not show up at all in the postseason, and that does mean something because to play the whole year, you have to play the whole year to get to the postseason and try to win. So if you go to the postseason and you don't do anything, I feel like that has to be taken into account. So I feel like
Yeah.
when you look at this list, even though like Juan Soto, for example, had a very down year this year, when he was in the
Yeah.
postseason, he still gave great at bats. He walked a lot. He got some clutch hits and key moments. I think that's a big
And he
thing.
was he was between teams all year last year. Like
Yeah. So he
everyone knew
had,
he was going to get traded in the
yeah,
middle of the year. So, at
yeah,
that point, like if it was me in that situation, morale would be low. Like, it's just one
yeah.
of those things for MLB players. You really have to
And
think about
also,
it in a different
And
kind of
also, like for the
perspective.
beginning of the year, he was playing on the Nationals. He had no motivation because that team was terrible. And then when he got
Yeah,
traded to the Padres, he had a ton of pressure, and he just
exactly.
wasn't used to the environment. In baseball, it's very important to be like used to the environment. Everything in baseball, there's tiny, tiny variables impact everything. So he just needs to get used to San Diego. Once he gets used to San Diego, I think that he'll get better. I don't know if they're gonna have to trade him in the future because I don't know if they're gonna be able to pay him. But if they trade him, I feel like any team would be glad to have him. But that's my take
Yep.
on it.
That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Dubs Only Sports, and then watch the full episodes on Spotify and YouTube. This was a little bit of a short one, but we can only go into so much baseball when there's no baseball going on. So bear that in mind. Um, yeah, that's going to do it for us, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode, guys. Peace out.